right, welcome to Bradford and Brooks. Jim Brooks and Margie Bradford are with you this morning. Good morning, Margie.
Morning, Jim.
Well, I tell you, it's a beautiful, another beautiful Wednesday here in downtown Bardstown.
It is, and the deer are just enjoying my backyard. And
well,
especially the flowers. They just come and nibble the heads off at about 1 o'clock in the morning. Come to visit me.
Well, I'll tell you, for this Wednesday, it's nice to be back in Bardstown rather than down in Bowling Green at the Justice Center.
And we're glad to have you.
I did see the show you from last week. I was getting ready. I'll load the video up on YouTube this afternoon. But he had a good show with Wes Bradley, and they were talking about the teacher training program.
Right. Yes. This teacher apprentice program.
Oh yeah.
And earn college credits and kind of grow your own teacher program, so to speak, for Nelson County.
Well, I'll tell you, the face of who you have as educators. I mean, there's there's certainly a shortage in the field of education.
No, they're not, and I just think we don't give teachers enough credit for what they do and what they mean to, what they mean to our town and our civilization, actually, that you have people who are dedicated to doing that.
Right, and I think almost all of us can recount one or more teachers that through our school career helped us either think of a career or have shaped us in some way.
Absolutely, and sometimes it's just that they accept you for who you are. And work to make you help you make a better world. Right. Well, Margie, we'll have to continue this discussion on another date. But I wanted to. That's another kitchen discussion.
Some of them we ought to run the mics in the kitchen some days.
That would be good.
All right. Well, we're very happy to have with us today a very special guest, Mr. Jerry Janes, and if you're familiar at all with the Bardstown-Nelson County Veterans Park, that is really making a huge impact on the landscape out by the Nelson County Justice Center. It's going gangbusters and really taking good shape. And I guess Jerry, anyway. I know you don't take credit for it, but you've been one of the engines behind keeping things going, and I think one of the first that had the vision for what that could be, and so I have to give you a lot of credit for being the engine behind to help keep the process moving, because it's looking great.
Thank you, Jim. Good to see you again back on your program. Margie, you too. Always enjoy your program. Always enjoy your conversation, talking to you, discussions. But yes, we're very pleased with the park. Things are going really well. We are in the final stages of completion, although we do have quite a few things to do before opening date. And we'll go back to that in just a few minutes. But we've got one small sidewalk to pour as far as the concrete is concerned, and the walkway around the park. But and we'll be completed with that. And of course, you've seen the pavilion, and they'll finish up in the next 3 or 4 days. They'll finish the roof on the pavilion, and that will be completed. And the bathrooms have been drywalled, and so we're in there painting. And in another week and a half or so, we'll have those completed, and we feel really good. We are really pleased with the pavilion, the way it's turned out, thanks to the direction of Music Construction Company. So I have to give them a lot of credit. We did do some research and look around and had some different options, and so they made some suggestions and recommendations, which were very good. So we're very pleased with the way that has turned out. Also, back to initially, even though we were doing a lot of work internally there, when the flags went up, we really got a lot of attention. As you well see, there's 5 American flags there, and they're at 35 foot, and then we've got 6 branch service flags, and they're at 30 foot. But I just know that we got a lot of remarks and a lot of feedback as far as what's going on, and people realize then, okay, this is going to happen, because we were in a stage there at times I think people thought that this wasn't going to happen.
Right.
We were in a slower process. But that's all changed, and with stages completed and the sidewalks around the park and inside internally are all completed. We have laid the brick for the walkway of honor. That's completed. And also we have started inscripting brick. So we'll be placing those as time goes along. And on that subject, I can say anyone that had a brick or purchased a brick that was inscripted by May the 31st will be in the park and laid and completed by opening day. And our opening day will be November the 11th, Veterans Day. We have made that decision, and we feel we can have everything completed and pretty much in place as far as phase 1 is concerned.
Right.
We do have a phase 2, and we can talk about that a little later, but phase 1 will be, which is a major part of it, will be completed by that point in time. So, and along that same line, our black granite monuments, they're on the way, and we will be starting inscripting those in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Hopefully we'll be setting some of those latter part of July and August and have those in place. And there's 12 of those. Well, there's a possibility of 14, but 12 now for sure, 6 on each side, 6 on the east side and 6 on the west side. And then we'll have a memorial monument with KIAs and MIAs that will be a separate monument too, a tribute there. And then every veteran in Nelson County's name will be inscripted on the black granite monuments in the park. So, and that we've had a lot of response to that. We have a little less than 7,000 names there at this point. So far more than I thought when we initially started, but we've had a good turnout. We had registrations at the library, and I'll also say the library has been a tremendous help to us as far as signing people up and getting the information gathered. Not only the facility, but the staff have been very gracious and very, very helpful in making this process move along. And that's been a lot of work. There's a lot of research work and time involved there, getting people registered and veterans' names and doing that. So we're very pleased with how that process has worked, and we certainly appreciate the contributions they've made to us and help. So,
well, let me ask you a question. Now, for example, the bricks.
Yes.
Who is eligible to have the brick? I mean, does a person have to have had their service living in Nelson County?
No. They can, if they're a veteran and they show us a DD 214 proof of service, then they can be in that park with an inscripted brick.
Right. You know, for example, my husband was in the Naval Reserve in Missouri for 7 years or something like that. Absolutely,
he has a right to be in that park. You know, and there's been other questions and issues that are brought up, but it's an opinion of a lot of us that we were all veterans. We were all under the same flag. We were all under the same umbrella, serving the same purpose. So they should have the right to be there as well as anybody else. So, and we've had people that have moved into the community, and people that have moved into the community and make this their home. They'll also be inscribed on the black monuments also in their branch of service, even if they weren't born here. You know, or were in the, you know, as far as discharge here, as far as military is concerned. So.
All right. Well, Jerry, some of our listeners may not be aware of all the amenities and that the park's going to have. Can you kind of run down the phase 1 and what will be available at the park?
Well, first of all, you know, we have the pavilion, which is 40 by 80, and then we have a men's and women's restroom, and we have a mechanical room in the middle there too. Those will be heated and cooled as well. And
you have a what room?
Mechanical room. Oh. That's where all of our electrical.
I got you now.
Our Wi-Fi and everything, and all the sit in, and everything, all the utilities and everything is underground in that park. We went underneath the road, underneath the road there to bring the utilities in, and. But we're really pleased with the way the pavilion has turned out and the size of it. And initially we were smaller, and we enlarged it, which I'm very glad we did. Initially, we were real strong on restrooms because of the cost factor, but after numerous conversations and discussions and so forth, we decided that must be. So it has, and it's worked out really well. We're so pleased that we do that. We have those facilities. And then the stage was much smaller to start. And Joy, my wife, she said, your stage is not big enough and you need some help.
Yeah.
So I agreed. So I went down and had some conversation with some of our committee members and so forth. And anyway, we had a lot of conversation with Johnny Warren and the Stephen Foster Drama Association, and he is a member of our committee. He helped us tremendously as far as the acoustics and the size and so forth. So that stage is the same size as what the drama stage is. It's 50 by 75. So we could put a Louisville Orchestra on that stage without any problems, or
Wonderful.
a brigade military band, which we will do. So
Excellent.
it has a lot of options. And on that same note, we will be hopefully installing a roof in mid-July for that stage also. And it will be much like the same design as what the pavilion is,
Right.
with the standard seam metal roof. So hopefully we'll have that in by the end of July, the 1st of August to the second week of August or so. So that's going to be a big addition, and we're very pleased with that. There'll be a lot of, and I've already had a lot of feedback from that. There's a lot of multi-purpose uses
Sure.
for that stage and also for that
Well, I
pavilion.
mean, you could make some money off of it.
Well, we could, but we haven't gone there yet. But we could. In along that line, it is a veterans park, but it's a community park, and we want people to use it. And of course we'll put some
Well, there's going to be,
restraints and conditions on it too,
Sure.
as far as the use is
there'll be
concerned.
the cost to using it,
Yes, we'll have to
So-
cover those.
so
Yeah.
you'll have to cover
Right.
those costs.
But we're well pleased with the way that has turned out, and we've got it all wired electric. We have Wi-Fi there, and we have kind of a three-phase system to where we can have it in the pavilion, we can have it on the stage, and then we can have it in the whole park. So, and this week they'll start setting the poles on the inside, the light poles, and we've done a tremendous amount of electrical work in there. And I've got to thank David Dones and his group for that. And not only the labor part of it, but the engineering and the technology and the knowledge that he has and that they have and what they've done for us has been tremendous. So,
Let me ask you something, on the 12 monuments that you're going to have. How are the names going to be divided? How are you going to decide what names to put on what monument? And after it is finished, will future veterans be put on there?
good question. I'm glad you asked that question. We'll have, yes, there'll be in eras. In other words, we'll have World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Iraq and Afghanistan, the global wars, and they will be in eras. And so each veteran's name in Nelson County's name will be inscribed on that monument in that era that they were in service. And so the other question that you...
Add-ons? Future, yes.
Yes.
I mean, in other words, people who are in service now will be a veteran maybe in 2 years. Or
Right.
a year, or 5
Yes.
years.
And thank you for that too. We have allowed for that.
Okay.
So what we did at this point, we cut the registration cutoffs through the help of the library, and that's where a lot of it was, May the 31st. So, well, it was really the end of March the 27th or 28th was the last day for the registrations on the inscription on the monuments.
But people can still buy bricks.
Yes, yes. And people can still register for, to be on the inscription on the monuments also. But we should have all of the inscriptions that we have taken through March, the end of March, for the monuments by opening day. We
Right.
should be able to have those inscribed on the monument. So then, after that, once a year, or maybe twice a year, that hadn't fully been decided yet, but at least once a year, we'll have a time to where we can add names to the monuments. The brick inscription is an ongoing situation. You know, we can,
Right.
you know, you can
You can,
bring that any time that you'd like to inscribe a brick, we can do that.
yeah.
Now, we may not lay them up at that same time. There'd be
Right.
specific time that we would have to lay those. So, but
Right.
that would be an ongoing issue that we can
Right.
do. So, but to answer your question, we will have space and room, and we've allowed that for the monuments to add people on that are veterans as time goes on. Yes.
That's good.
Now, I can't remember the figure, but you talked about how many. You'd mentioned earlier about how many named or inscribed bricks you've got room for.
We've got around the walkway of honor in front of the stage, which those bricks are laid.
Okay.
And as we inscribe them, we replace them. We put that inscribed brick
Right.
down and take the old one out, and then we rotate. So we've got room for about 2,400 bricks around that walkway. And we've got about 600 people signed up at this point.
Okay.
And how much are the bricks?
They're $150 a piece. And that's for the brick and inscribing them and laying them. So, yeah. And we've had very positive turnout on that and the results. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a chance to honor a loved one.
Sure.
It is, and a lot of people are doing that.
For their service.
Well, my brother Benny, he called me a couple months ago, and he said, "Well, he said, don't you think we ought to go in together, all four of us, and get one for Daddy?" I said, "Absolutely, absolutely." So
That's what we're planning.
yeah, that's a great way to. I don't know, commemorate the service of your, father, grandfather, uncle,
And I'll take this opportunity to say, Jim, I appreciated the fact that Kenny Fogle at the memorial service at the cemetery mentioned the Brooks brothers and their commitment to that cemetery up there in the service, the Memorial Day services from a long time ago.
Right.
They initially started all that and set it up, and it's kept long. And then I also appreciate the fact that Kenny mentioned, next year we'll have it in the new Veterans Park.
Right.
Which will be great. Yeah.
Now you talked about phase 2. What are the future plans, or what are you all thinking about for expansion or improving the park later?
Initially, we had with the 12 monuments, we were doing the branch of services on one side, and then we were doing the monuments that inscribed names of all the veterans in Nelson County on the other. And we really kind of got into phase 2 when we had a discussion with the Sisters of Charity, and they invited us to one of their meetings and to give them a presentation on the park. They had a lot of interest, and again, this is something I didn't know. So we met with them and talked to them, and they had 90 sisters that from the Civil War, this is where we're going. We're going right there from the Civil War forward, that had served somehow in capacity in the military and wars and so forth.
Wow. Okay.
And so they had, their archivist had researched and had the names of all those sisters of charity.
Wow.
So we are doing inscribed bricks for them. Happens to be they're in the process of being inscribed right now as we speak. So they'll be laid in the park here pretty quickly too. Hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks or next 30 days. But so it was a very interesting conversation with the Sisters of Charity, and they were very interested in our park, and they were interested in what we were going to do as educational purposes further.
Right.
And along that same line, so I'll go off to Fenton Johnson had called me, and I'd had 3 meetings with him, and he was writing a book on the Civil War and how many black soldiers in Nelson County, and I think there was 418. He told me it was at the time. But anyway, and he wanted to know what I was going to do and how I was going to include all that in the park. So that immediately, after my first conversation with him, and then the second conversation, and then another conversation with the Sisters of Charity, and a few other people, I said, okay, we got phase 2 here, so we're going to cover the rest of the wars. Okay. So that's what we're going to do. So the Sisters of Charity's made us a very nice contribution. And so we're going to have a tribute to them, and also in Civil War. And we're going to go back to the other wars too.
All right.
What occurs to me is this is a tremendous data collection.
It is.
Who is doing that? That would be a daunting, I would think.
Well, it's been a tremendous amount of work, I can tell you this.
Yeah.
And you know, as I said earlier, there's so much that I didn't know, and there's so much to know. And when we got into this, and I'm going to give my wife, Joy, a lot of credit for that, because she did a lot of research, particularly on a lot of that. And then we talked to other people, and Benton Johnson, who's a supposedly renowned author, and he's I enjoyed his visits and his conversations, and he held my feet to the fire on a couple of things, you know. But it was good. So it has been a lot of research, and Joy and some other ladies have done that work, and so yeah, it's been a monumental task to get the names and that. But we got 6 or 8 ladies that are helping us also. The Daughters of American Revolution assisted with it. So we've got a lot of players involved here, and they've contributed time and information, which has been very, very helpful for us. So we put it together and so forth. But Joyce kind of directed that and done a lot of that research work. So, I mean, without her, I couldn't have done this. So,
right.
Yeah, I remember that. I think our DAR, we gave some.
They did, yes. We've had
donated
2 or 3
money.
chapters of the Daughters of Revolution. And also we've had the Legion Auxiliary ladies have been involved, very involved.
Well, now this is costing a lot of money.
It is.
So, you want to talk about funding?
Sure. Margie, at this point, we have raised about $750,000. Now, if you figure, we also had in-kind work there, so if you figure the in-kind work and what monies that we've actually raised, you're looking at about $850,000 that we've raised to this point, and that's where we are. And we're going to need another $500,000 to complete this project, particularly in the roof on the stage. That's another $225,000 to $40,000 it's going to cost us to do that. But I think we must do it. We've made a decision to do it, and we're moving forward. And then, it was the restrooms were very expensive, and that was a big cost too. So, but all of our expenses are paid to date. But to finish the project and operational funds is concerned, we need another $500,000 to get it done. And that would be including the second phase of it and so forth, which we must do. And,
have there been presentations to the fiscal court and the city council? I mean, this is going to be an asset for the town and the county.
Well, to answer that question directly, initially the fiscal court and the judge were very, very helpful to us. Happens to be, I leased the property from them for the park, and also, it was a question of there just wasn't much availability as far as lots is concerned around town.
Right.
And finally we've got 1.2 acres out there and then this question was, it was a front lot. They had 3 back lots.
Yeah.
And Jim, you probably remember.
I do.
That they, with the county judge, Dean Watts, at that time. He said, well, I don't know if they'll let you have the front 2 lots or any of it. I said, well, ask them, and do you mind if I ask them? So anyway, we did, and they did. They graciously, they said which of the front 2 you want. And of course, we had plans there, and we were organized and so forth and on, but to show them what we were going to do. And we've kept them abreast of everything, plans and everything, Brad Spalding, in every step of the way here. So they've been a very, very good partner to us. They also gave us $50,000 seed money to start, which was very good. And at that time, we didn't have any money, which was a great asset for us. So, so that got us going. And then, of course, Busey Construction Company, they did the engineering work, which was tremendous. So that's really kind of got us going too. So.
Right. Well, my hat's off to former Judge Executive Dean Watts, because he was open to the suggestions, and I think he too could see what this could bring to the county, and fiscal court had no complaints about it. And I'm sure you still have the support of Judge Hutchins in fiscal court today, because it's an amazing, I don't know, just watching it watching this whole process, it's been pretty amazing to see, and plus all the work in kind and all the support from the whole community across the board. It's been vast. It's been amazing.
Well, this is a very patriotic community.
It is.
And I mean, due to the involvement of all of the people who have gone off to fight the wars and maybe never came back. But I can also see it as a tourist attraction.
Well, and there's other issues there too that we talked about, but yeah, people have been, once we got started up going, they saw what we were doing, they saw our plans and what the future looked like and so forth.
Right.
Then we started getting really good response from our local people. But along with the military part of it, a lot of people, there's a lot of military history here that a lot of people do not know about. And Nelson County has made a large contribution, a major contribution as far as the military is concerned in this community.
Oh, yeah.
So, and it's not known. The history of that is not very well known. So we're going to help make that happen and complete with this park and so forth with what we've done to this point. So we're very pleased with that. But we've had a very positive response, and so we feel really good about it. And it's, again, a veterans park, but it's also a community park too. So,
well, Jerry, I know that there were discussions early on about the education component of the park. How's that developing, or what will be available? Because, like you said, there's a lot of history here that goes undiscussed or untold, and I think that deserves to be highlighted. The county and contribution to the military and our country.
Yeah, Jim, thank you for that, and I'm glad you brought that up because I hadn't touched on that. But yes, a big part of this park, and it's in our mission statement, is it's an educational purpose too, and it has a strong educational purpose. So, and one of the methods and how we're going to do that is there will be a QR code on each of the monuments. So, in other words, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Iraq and Afghanistan, and the global wars. You will be able to go to that monument with an app off of your phone and a QR code on that monument and get the history of that conflict or war. So it's a teaching. In other words, if a teacher from any of our school systems want to take a group of kids in there, they've got a pavilion or a stage, either one, and then they can go to those monuments and get that history and that information and teach class, and update children and so forth on our military history, which it needs to be done. There's a lot of it that's just not here, and a lot of people don't know.
Right.
Even
Excellent.
adults,
Oh yeah, excellent. The because I see that as really important, especially I think for kids, because I don't remember ever hearing anything about local history in the military, when I was in elementary school or even high school. So, except for what my dad and his brothers would tell me,
Well, you're exactly right, and I think that, and we will have that. It'll be available here in that park. And the other thing was when we got into the second phase of it, and we got talking about the Civil War, then we got a lot of response there because there's a lot of Civil War people, reenactors and things, and we've had people tell us that you'll have once people know that you're going back and covering these other wars and even Civil War and the history of that, you'll have a lot of participation on that part of it and contributions because people will support it because there's not that much of it,
right.
And so forth. So we're pleased with that too, and so I think, and we're very excited about that phase two and going into that part of it also. So, and again, the whole picture is, big part of it is education.
Sure. Well, until talking with you, I had never really thought about the Sisters of Charity's contributions during to conflicts, but they. One of their early missions, continuing, I guess, was, hospitals and healthcare.
Absolutely.
So That's a strong part of their history, teaching and healthcare.
Yeah, and I think that is not only the military aspect of it, but a big part of their thoughts and mentality here is the education part of it and what's to be known. And then also their contribution as far as what Sister Charity themselves have done.
Oh, sure. I mean,
Time.
Yeah, I mean, I had a large contingent of my teachers at St. Joe were Sisters of Charity,
right.
And they kind of shape, you're shaping young minds basically, and I got an excellent education. Though they were a little stricter than the lay teachers, but that kind of comes with the territory,
Yeah.
But I tell you, some of my most beloved teachers were some of the Sisters of Charity. That's,
Yeah.
Well, Jerry, can we take a quick commercial break? All right, you're listening to Bradford and Brooks and our very special guest, Jerry James. We're talking about the Bardstown-Nelson County Veterans Park, still under construction out on Springfield Road across from McDonald's in front of the Nelson County Justice Center. We'll be back with more conversation with Jerry, and we'll be back in just a few moments. Stay tuned. All right, you're back with Bradford and Brooks. Jim Brooks and Margie Bradford on this beautiful Wednesday morning. It won't be morning much longer, though. So stay tuned to WBRT at the top of the hour for the best in local and state news. All right, we're back with our very special guest, Jerry James. And I guess I should say that, Jerry's almost family. He's married to my cousin. So, anyway, we've been talking about the Bardstown-Nelson County Veterans Park, and it's a tremendous facility, and it's not even done yet. But Jerry said we're looking forward for the first event there, which will be Veterans Day, November 11th this year. So looking forward to that.
It is. We have set November the 11th, Veterans Day, for our grand opening, and we are in the process. We have a committee group of people now and looking at planning that grand opening, and our guest keynote speaker, and so we're making arrangements to get that all settled and in place for that day. So.
All right. Now, Jerry, who can we had mentioned earlier inscribe bricks? Who should they contact to get if they're interested in getting one for a family member?
Well, there's two methods that we have that you can make contact with. They can contact me, and they have been because they've got my number off of the website. But we're in a process of changing that website, so we're going to make some changes there, so it's not as fluid as it should be at this point in time. But the Nelson County Library, again, I'll say, has been very, very helpful to us. So, you can get a brick form or a registration form for inscription on the monuments at the Nelson County Public Library. They have the forms there.
Okay.
And you can pick them up and fill them out and so forth. And if you got any questions, they can help a little bit there with that also.
Okay.
And then also, we have made arrangements with American Legion Post 121 on West Broadway. The first Thursday of every month at 6 o'clock, if they want to come there, they can come and pick up a brick form, or they can register for inscription on the monument, but they must have proof of service,
right.
ED 214, or some type of military proof that they in fact were in service. But we'll need that, but they can do that also.
Okay, very good. All right.
Well, the number of bricks. I mean, you still have plenty of room.
Yes, we do. We've got a lot of room.
On that.
We've got room for growth.
What will be on the brick? The name of the person, the length of service. I mean, a brick is not all that big.
No, it's not. We have on the form, it has 4 lines, and there are 16 letters to each line. So you can put your name, your branch of service, and your, for instance, if you were in Vietnam, you could put Vietnam year that you were there, 68 or 69 or 70 or 72, whatever, so forth. And so you've got 4 lines there to you can put your name, date of service, and what
the branch,
and the branch, and the year that you were there. So
that's how many characters?
16 characters to a line. There's 4 lines, so 64.
Okay, all right.
That should be enough to get the point across, I think. So, and it's worked very well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's
Oh,
that's worked very well. And our local, we're doing all that locally here. Pat Spalding, and he's inscribing all of our bricks at his place.
Okay.
And also, that's where we bought our monuments was through him. The black granite. Of course, most of that, the black granite comes out of the country.
Right.
You can get the white locally, but you can't. It's not so easy to get the black granite. You got to go out of country to get it. So, but anyway, he's helped us with that and been great. He's
When is the last time that you is available for people to get their have their names on the monuments? I know the bricks you can keep going, but
yeah. Well, the monuments will be ongoing too on an annual basis. In other words, we'll have veterans that we've got people in service now that are not veterans, but
Right,
when they come out, they
exactly.
become veterans.
right,
So
exactly.
we can add their name, you know, as time progresses, as time moves along.
But in order to have it on in time for the grand opening.
Well, we cut them off to as far as the monument inscriptions, March the 28th or 29th, the end of March, and then for the opening on the bricks, May 31st, we cut that off. So we can assure.
Well, they're both off then, because March is past.
Yes, but we can add them later.
Right, okay,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, okay, I want to clarify that. I don't want
Right.
people to think, well, we're
No,
done
I was
here.
just
you
thinking
know.
about if people thinking get it in time. For
Right,
stuff.
right.
But if they don't have it in already, then it'll have to be later.
We can't guarantee it'll be there. Yeah.
Right.
But those 2 time frames, the end of March for the
Monuments.
monuments, and then the end of May for the bricks, that we can pretty much assure you that they'll be there. So,
Now, are they going to be in alphabetic order?
well, we're going to.
If you were going
yes,
to go to look for a name,
we will have.
up until you get the newer people, then you would have to recarve the whole monument
Well,
to make them
we'll add
alphabetic.
space there for that too.
Yeah.
We'll make a little room there for that, but they will be in alphabetical order and they will be in groups.
Okay.
One of the biggest requests we have as far as the bricks is concerned is families. They want them all together, you know, like
Right.
brothers.
Right.
And just families, except cousins and uncles and so forth. So we can do that, and we're going to try to do that. So
Like I said, a tremendous amount of data that's got to be collated.
it is, but you know, with good organizational and little time and a little help, it's, you know, you can get it, you can do it. You know, so
Well, I take my hat off to you because we've been talking about this since it was just a motion in your mind.
it all started September of 21, just talk. And then when we really got into it, Margie, I think was 22.
Yeah,
So we've been about 3 years here.
I know.
In discussion, so we've come a long way. So
I would say you know that old Salem commercial or whatever it was, baby, we've come a long way. The cigarettes, you know, giving women the
Right,
chance to pollute their lungs as well.
Yeah.
So, yes, I mean, I think it's an amazing journey.
it is.
Um,
And you know, we've had a lot of help.
because you've started out with basically nothing,
Zero. Ground zero.
right?
That's where we were.
So it
yeah.
was with nothing but an idea.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was told you'll never get this done. You know, so
Well,
it's
I
been
mean,
tried 3 or 4 times and you won't get it done. I said, okay, we'll see. So,
so you must have built a coalition.
Oh, yeah.
no question about it. I've got a committee of people on our committee. It's all these people are dedicated, and most of you know who they are. Their names are on the websites and their names have been visible and so forth. But and we've broken down into committees, and but yes, and they've been a lot of. We've had a lot of help there, and then we've had a lot of people indirectly that has given us help. There's been a lot of ladies, women that donated their time to different functions, and you know, the amount of research and searching names and so forth.
That's the data issue I was talking about.
Yeah.
Is that, I mean, without that, you've just got a bunch of materials.
Exactly. Yeah.
Unless
And
you have the right information to put on there. it really doesn't accomplish anything except building a nice park. But to do what you're doing, you have to have all of that information, and you have to have it correctly.
That's exactly right, and I'm glad you mentioned it, because we could get a lot of information, but we had to verify it.
Right.
So, and Joy and her ladies, Jennifer Santangelo's been very involved in this. She's helped. And then we've got Susan Lewis over at the library, and we've got several other ladies. Daughters of American Revolution, Cox's Station Group has helped us. Pam Blaine with the American Legion, and also Post 42 Auxiliary ladies, they have helped. So there's been a lot of effort and a lot of help, and so yes, and it's been quite a bit of work. So, but they've done it, and we're getting to the final stage of that aspect of it. So I really feel really good about this and where we are. So.
Are you having it to the grand opening? Are you having any special guests?
Yes, I'm not going to. I can't remark because I don't have those confirmed.
Right.
But yes, we are. There's some people we would like to, and we'll have people that's connected strongly in the military, so forth. So, we've got a committee and there's been suggestions, and so we've talked to some people. And of course, you get into the politicians and the political aspect, and who you're going to invite and who you're not, and who's the speaker and who's not, and so forth. So we haven't made all those decisions. We are working on it. We do have some plans there, and we have some thoughts, and in the process of making the contacts. So when I get those confirmed, then absolutely we're going to announce all of that.
All right.
But yes.
Well, Jerry, before we're getting down to the wire a little bit, but I wanted to ask you about the Eternal Flame, because I know that there'd been discussions about that, and how you wanted something that would leave an impression, as the Eternal Flame, and be worthy of location in the Veterans Park. And so you've just settled on a design, I assume now?
Yes, and we've hired a sculptor, and we're in the third phase of it. And we're going up north before too long to view the final product before it's shipped and brought here. So we hope to have that. It's 13 foot in height. It's bronze, and it will be lit with LED lighting, and it has to be set with a crane, and it will set out front, in front of right behind the American flagpole,
right,
in the park. Joy really researched that and found it, and she showed it when I came in. She showed it to me. I said, "Where did you find that?" I mean, when I looked at it, I thought, "Wow, this is really." And then I took it to our committee, and we had quite a bit of discussion, and it was 110%. Everybody liked it.
Awesome.
It was. So we all decided. So we got into copyright regulations on it. So it took me a couple of months there to work 3 months to get those issues worked out. But we made just a little change in the internal flame of it, and they accepted it and signed off on it, so we could
have it.
Do it. So we hired a sculptor, and we hired a sculptor that made that one.
Right.
The same guy. And because we knew we wanted to duplicate the same product just as is, except for the one little change that we had to make to do it. So we did that, and that took us a little time. Now we're about complete. That's about completed. They're in the process. They're in the stage, the bronzing stage of it now, as we speak. So I hope to have that middle to the end of July, 1st of August. And our Meg sponsored that.
Oh wow!
Big project, and really, and I think, and of course it'll be lit 24/7, and then each Sunday evening at sunset, the taps will be played. So it's I think when we get that set in the park, it's really gonna, and then particularly when you see it at night.
Oh yeah,
it's beautiful when it's lit.
That's gonna be. I think one more thing, you mentioned that a Rotary clock.
Yes. We were very thankful to the Rotary, Rick Smith and Nick Ciparone and Tara Filiatru. and the Rotary members in the club, and I addressed them and talked to them about I gave them an update where we were on the park, but they have donated a nice double-sided, double-faced clock, and we'll have that tomorrow. They called me yesterday, and they're going to deliver it tomorrow. And so we've got everything in place for that, and we're very appreciative of that and the Rotary Club for their contribution on that, because it adds some pizzazz to our park there, So we're going to set it stage and improvement where you can pretty much see it all through the park. So,
Okay.
So we'll.
Are you going to have trees?
Oh, yes, ma'am. We're going to have a little landscape.
Are you going to let people dedicate those trees?
Yes, we will. We sure are. Yeah. We're very close to that phase right now. So we're thinking about that now and what type we're going to do and what we're going to use. And we've got one chapter of Daughters of American Revolution wants to sponsor one. We're going to, next week, we'll probably, after we get the water sprinkler system in front of the stage in this week and part of next week, then we're going to sod the front part of that. And then we're going to look into what the landscape will be, and we've got also a fence that goes all the way around the perimeter. It's a black metal industrial aluminum fence, which we think's very nice, and it'll be about 5 foot high and so forth, and it'll be all the way around the park so we can secure it. So
one last question is, how are you going to protect this park?
Well, we're sitting right on top of the sheriff's department and the police department. Now, I just remember when we had the groundbreaking ceremony, I went over there and asked in the sheriff's department, I said, we had put a tent and several chairs out there, and I thought, well, they're going to be there for 3 or 4 or 5 days. I don't want somebody to pack them off. So I went over and asked them, but you kind of keep an eye on it. And this lady, very gracious, come here, man, I'll show you. So she went back there and showed me that camera back there in the film. You could see every blade of grass on that park. I just said, good enough. Turned around and went out the door. So I'm not too concerned with that, but we purposely put the fence around it to secure it, and it will be electronically, and it will be locked. It'll be opened and locked every day. So we will secure it, and we'll have a lot of veterans and American Legion posts that will oversee that. And then I have an agreement with the county too. It's in the lease on the maintenance and so forth.
Yeah, that's right.
So we're going to have plenty of help there to take care of all that.
Good.
We are. Thanks for the question.
All right, Jerry, if someone's interested in making contributions, who should they contact?
They can contact me at 502-507-3386, or they can make their contribution, and any checks payable to Bardstown-Nelson County Veterans Park, in short, BNC Vet Park, and mail it to Post Office Box 234, Bardstown, Kentucky 4004 zip, and we'll get it and take care of it, and we'll respond. So.
All right. All right, very good. Well, Jerry, we're just about down to the wire here. Any last comments before we take off?
Yeah, I just want to take this opportunity to thank my committee members for their contribution of time and work effort and so forth in our meetings, and I also like to take this opportunity to thank all of our contributors, and we've had some really nice contributions made to us for this park. I'd like to, in the grand opening, we will be mentioning some of those people, and we'll have a gratuity wall in front of the park with their names listed on it. So, but I do want to thank the people of Nelson County and our main contributors and all the contributors for what they've done for us to make this possible where we are today.
All right, very good. Well, Jerry, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you, and it's always good to see you and Margie. Thank you very much.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this week's Bradford and Brooks. We'll have the video up on YouTube and link to all our local social media in the next couple of days. So have a great week, and stay tuned for the news at the top of the hour. We'll see you next week here on Bradford and Brooks.